Welcome to the Dragon Slayer of Brighton, Episode 6, entitled Brighton Confidential, The Clockwork Owl.
"6:35 a.m., Thursday, 25th of September, 2014. I was awoken by a phone call. Hello? A distressed woman by the name of Stay told me of a large silver perp skulking in an alleyway just off Preston Street in Hove. Her voice was as thick as honey and twice as sweet. There had been a few disappearances all over Brighton in the month or so prior to this, but with no dragon spotted, the investigation up to this point had been handled by Sussex police. Now it was my turn to do a little digging. I could hear the fear in her voice as it reverberated over every fifth word. I assured her I'd be right there, hung up, shook the cobwebs from my sleepy mind, and set off. It was 6:55 when I stepped off the bus at Western Road, fully geared up with Pointy in tow. The informant was a dame, so radiant she could make anyone succumb to a life of sin. She was tall, slender. She wore blue figure-hugging jeans and a half-unbuttoned plaid shirt. Her hair burned hotter than dragon blood under her umbrella, and her skin was pale. She had some of the finest tattoo art I'd ever seen. A purple rose shone out on her shoulder, above the sleeve depicting a masquerade ball. An elegant clockwork owl sat stalwart on her chest. It seemed to have a wise, knowing grin, as if it knew I was staring. A joint glowed between her plump red lips. I cleared my throat and began. "You Stay?" She took her time to answer, savoring her morning ritual, letting the smoke seep from her mouth all thick and seductive.
"No points for guessing who you are. Better watch you don't rust in that outfit."
It's cool. I ordered up this morning. This isn't my first rodeo.
Yeah, you're building up quite a reputation, I guess. I got your number from Hayley. She wants you to call. Don't.
Wouldn't anyway. She took another drag and shivered slightly in the cold autumn air. I wanted to hold her close, to warm her skin as she warmed my heart.
It's big. Silver.
That's new. Last seen?
Behind Malula Bar. They had a kid.
A tear escaped her dark, smoky eyes, tainting her perfect porcelain features. She discarded the butt and stared at it in the puddle. The trauma was clear from her face.
His eyes. I'll never forget his eyes. So fucking lost and afraid.
I saw hope and hate mingled with the tears in her eyes. Then, quick as a flash, she turned the corner and was gone. The smell of weed and autumn rain lingered a moment longer, and I readied myself for the hunt. This was shaping up to be one hell of a day. I picked up the perp's tracks a few moments later and followed them for over a mile until I came to a small wet pile of bones on Madeira Drive. Poor kid. Would have been around 6 or 7, judging by the bones. No wonder the dame was spooked. This one dies. Eye for an eye, and scale for bone. As I followed the tracks further down Madeira Drive, the thought crossed my mind that a man dressed head to toe in armor would be pretty damn overdressed for the nature's beach ahead of me. Luckily, the tracks led me up into the undergrowth just behind it, and as I approached, I noticed a small gap with a path leading down. The path led me to a large cavern, hidden beneath the road, obscured by dense bushes. It would appear near invisible unless you knew where to look. I unsheathed Pointy and made my way inside. The cave was lit by a fire at the center, which cast large shadows on the walls that loomed overhead all jittery and pensive, taunting me to venture further toward my doom. I could hear sounds of swords clashing and ghastly roars ahead. The hair on my neck bristled. I readied myself for the coming showdown. As I moved, I watched the shadows and studied my surroundings. Posters of heavy metal bands like Tool and Slayer adorned the walls, and I grinned slyly at the latter. I saw shelves filled with books by Terry Pratchett and Stephen King. There was a Deadpool comic that jutted out of a cluttered shelf of paperwork and fast food boxes. We shared similar tastes. It's a shame I was going to have to take this guy down. All part of the job. I took another step inside and my foot collided with an electric guitar, sending it crashing to the floor. I dived behind a chair and the perp growled and inspected the instrument for damage.
Fuck you, Bob, you needy prick. I'm trying to concentrate.
The true enormity of my task became apparent. This perp was big. A real bruiser, with scales that shone like chrome. It looked like some kind of sculpture you'd find in the lanes. Must be how it gets its victims. Nobody expects the sculptures to come alive and fill their bellies with local school children. Although, anything's possible in this town. The perp skulked back to a large armchair stained with soot and what looked like mayonnaise. I really hope that's mayonnaise. I heard the sword clashing stop, and a death sigh.
Oh, great! Now I'm dead, you stringy fuck! I'm gonna have to make my way through the fucking swamp again now, for fuck's sake!
Suddenly it dawned on me that the battle I was hearing was actually from a game he was playing. I felt relieved that no one else had lost their lives in this pit. I flinched as the dragon let out an almighty belch. The air around it seemed to crackle and shimmer for a moment. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. This was no ordinary dragon. The metallic appearance and its strange breath were different from any of the scaly degenerates I'd faced before. I had to keep my wits about me and find out more about this strange new breed. I watched as the perp played through the same section of Dark Souls over and over, every time dying at the hands of the spider witch Kellag. It was sloppy gameplay. Too much dodging, no blocking at all, just all-out attack. And for that matter, the armor set was all wrong, and the character was weighed down, and oh, fuck this!
You're doing it all wrong, you big, scaly tit. Put on the leather armor so that you can move about a bit quicker. Equip a strong shield and use it to block most of her melee attacks. I mean, you can't just keep leaping around like some fucking acrobat. Attack her sides when she spews the lava, and then back roll when she lifts her legs to attack you. I know you've got fat fingers and you can't work the fucking control properly, but honestly...
The perp just stared at me open-mouthed for a second or two, and I realized I'd let my emotions get the better of me. I'm an angry gamer. Now I was in deep. No way left to turn. I had my wits and my weapons. Time to face the gaping abyss head-on.
Who the fuck are you?
Name's Vincent. Vincent the Valiant. You can call me Slayer.
Slayer? You're not Buffy!
I'm worse.
Right, well, thanks for the advice and everything, but I ate a really big burrito with child sauce and added fried egg. I really need a shit, so...
The perp stood up and took up half of the cave. I confidently trained Pointy on the perp.
This only goes one way.
Does it involve me shitting? Because I can feel a case of explosive diarrhea coming on. I'm gonna have the shits, burrito style!
The dragon winked and shot finger pistols at me. I wasn't sure if it was to make me laugh or to distract me, but it certainly put me on the back foot. I had to work out a way to take this guy down, fast. I saw purple electricity crackle behind his eyes, and he darted for the cave entrance. I raced after the perp. Hopefully I could catch him before he got outside and fled to the skies. Rain and wind stung my face as I reached the cave entrance, but I kept running, unsheathing a banana as I ran. I hurled the banana over the perp's head, but he continued undeterred. He looked back with a wry grin.
Miss me, you shit!
My usual tactics were not going to work on this lowlife. I ran headlong for the perp with all my energy, folding over the old Volks railway. I could hear grunting. Maybe this perp wasn't as in shape as I thought it was. The physical exertion of sprinting down the beach seemed to be wearing me down. I could feel the ache in my own muscles. I need to get Trevor to sort me out with some lighter armor.
Fuck off!
That's when things got weird. There was a wet fart sound. In 1 second, I was chasing down a 20-foot metal dragon with a weight problem. Next, I was running straight for a bunch of naturists in a circle, holding paperback books. I tumbled right through the center of Brighton's Naturist Book Club, having a calm Tuesday morning meetup. The sun was shining, and although cold, it was definitely a few degrees hotter than 6 seconds ago. I got up quick, and realized I'd twisted my ankle in the fall. The pain was sharp, and I reached for Pointy to steady myself. I stooped over Pointy, and tried to catch my breath, which had been knocked out of me in the fall. The Naturist Book Club just stared at me open-mouthed. I knew I'd be overdressed.
Calm down, just breathe. Did anyone see where it went?
Silence. Just confused and scared looks. I got the feeling I wouldn't be discussing Time of Death by Mark Billingham anymore today. I didn't think that book was out until April. This group must have some great connections.
Oi, nude folk, where'd the dragon go?
I looked around for the source of the voice, thinking it must have been a bystander that watched the whole ordeal go down. There was nobody else. Just 8 naked book readers getting increasingly nervous, and me.
Vincent, pick it up, idiot. We've got a massive, scaly dickhead to track down.
To say I freaked out was an understatement. In fact, to say I went full-on cuckoo's nest would even be underselling my reaction, when I suddenly realized that Pointy, the sword I had had for 3 years, was the source of that voice. I threw it to the ground.
Ow, dick!
Collapsed, and rocked back and forth for about 10 minutes chanting, "There's no place like home! There's no place like home!" before evacuating my bowels and blacking out. I awoke 3 days later, to find myself in bed. My armor had been neatly stacked and polished. I could hear voices downstairs. I got dressed and went down to see if I could piece together the events that had unfolded. Pointy was downstairs, chatting with my flatmate about some movie starring Channing Tatum. I struggled to comprehend the scene before me, but at least I hadn't lost my mind on that beach. Pointy really was talking, and I wasn't the only one who could hear her. My housemate excused himself, and Pointy and I sat on the couch. For a long time, there was silence.
Feeling okay?
I'm a little shaken. The initial shock of Pointy suddenly gaining voice had passed, and, strangely, it felt like she had always had a voice, as though we were always connected and communicating in some small way. Why did you never talk before?
I have. You couldn't hear me. Dimensions out of sync.
Dimensions? She informed me that the dragon I was fighting was one that could manipulate dimensional rifts, wormholes, and had farted a portal which I had stumbled through during the chase. I had stepped through a wormhole late September 2014 and instantaneously arrived at the same spot late June this year. 9 months. Gone, just like that. There must have been a shit ton of TV I'd missed. I sat silently, taking it all in.
The dimensional sidestep you took shifted things around a bit. I can talk, Crazy Frog never existed, and sherbet dibdabs are Britain's #1 sweet. Tom has been helping do some research. Things are bad. Without you around, this place has been a fucking playground for them.
The sudden disappearance of Brighton's sole dragon slayer caused a huge uprising of dragon activity. There were now 3 times as many in the area, and innumerable deaths. Did you find anything on Farty McFucktard?
Bits and pieces. An article from 2013 spoke about a dimensional vortex opening on Montreal Road and a giant snake coming through, scaring a dog walker. We think he's ferrying other species into Brighton. Not sure what for yet, but my guess is that they're building an army.
Shit. Hasn't anyone tried to stop it?
Anyone who comes close just gets sent somewhere else in time and space. The Americans apparently caught one and weaponised the portal technology in a gun a while back, but apparently testing went a bit awry and the government shut down the project.
Like Portal.
What?
Portal, the game.
No idea what you're on about.
Forget it.
So what now?
I don't think I'm strong enough.
Rest up. We'll talk again soon.
I went upstairs and checked my emails. 3,000 odd spam emails, dozens of jobs, and a message from my mother. I hadn't even considered the effect this had had on them. I'd missed birthdays, and had been presumed dead. There was a missing campaign that went out in November, but it was predominantly run on latest TV, so nobody saw it. I immediately contacted my parents, and after all the crying had subsided, I decided to go back home and see them and clear my head. I hopped on a train that afternoon, and 7 hours later I was at my parents' home in Clockwork, Wales. Wales was one of the first countries to embrace dragons after they announced their existence to the world. There used to be a lot of prejudice towards them in the region, with human separatists bombing dragon-friendly churches and terrorizing the dragon community at large. After the attacks, riots broke out, and an activist group known as the Scales of Justice was formed by Adam Lister, Liam Ryan, and Geraint Rowlands, 3 prominent figures in the dragon world. For years, the Scales of Justice held protests to highlight the fact that the majority of the dragoning world just wanted to get on with things, without skulking around in caves or hiding out in mines. They were tired, and just wanted to go on long walks along the beach, without being attacked. Dragons were also particularly useful in the agriculture and construction industries, and in 1859, a treaty was signed giving dragons equal rights. This was largely accepted, and much of the country embraced that decision. 100 years later, the treaty was commemorated with the flag design that remains to this day. Over the next few weeks, I got to see many family members and friends. We danced and drank. Half of them told me to give up dragon slaying as it was a fool's profession that would likely get me killed. The rest told me to keep up the good work. I weighed up the merits of both options in a darkened room while listening to a myriad of Radiohead, Nine Inch Nails, and Cher. The day before I was due to go back, I saw a story about a group of slayers that had started up in Manchester. They had better armor than mine and were all in much better shape. My mind was made up. I was done. My armor could rust away, and Pointy could be passed on to the leader of this new group. She could coach them, keep them safe, passing on my collected wisdom to the next generation. I'd have to live with the horrors, the burns, and the bloodshed myself. That night I drank, and cried, and ate a kebab. The hangover cut my mind in two, and left me in a haze of something that was almost akin to coherence, but not quite. My parents drove me to the station, and my mum cried on the platform as my train chugged out of sight. In a few hours, I'd be revealing my choice to quit being a dragon slayer, and convincing Pointy to work with someone else. That was going to be the hardest sell since clear coke. I had to change trains in Cardiff, and as I sluggishly made my way to the other platform, I had the feeling I was being watched. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. This brought me slightly closer to the surface of my hangover. I saw the reflection of a red dragon in a billboard, and I knew I was being stalked. This was not a good day for this shit. I turned the corner and ran up the stairs to platform 4. My head still swam with the whiskey the night before, and I stumbled over a bag on the platform and hit the floor hard. There was no time to get to my feet before the red dragon delivered a sharp kick to my stomach. Raspy breath scraped down my throat as I rolled around the platform and the dragon laughed in my face.
Renell sends his regards.
Lazy fuck couldn't even be bothered to come here and kill me himself. Pathetic fucking worm.
The perp slammed a foot into the back of my head and my face smashed into the concrete. I felt my nose break as it hit the floor. My eyes immediately filled with water and things got murky. Through my waterlogged eyes, I could see blood all over the platform. My blood, and lots of it. The perp took a moment to gloat.
I'll tell him you cried like a baby, you know? Snivelling and begging for your life. I'll tell him how you bled like a stuck pig and probably throw in the fact that you shot yourself too. You know, just for a laugh.
All over my new Wonder Woman boxers too.
The dragon began to howl with laughter, giving me a couple of seconds to drag myself to my feet. I got halfway up and dizziness stopped me getting up completely. I got stuck doubled over in pain, clutching my knees and trying to focus. I had to play this just right.
Mind.
You what?
The perp bent down close in order to hear me. Big mistake.
Mind the gap.
I summoned up all my strength and delivered a kick that sent the dragon stumbling backwards, straight off the platform and into the path of an oncoming train. The platform became a Jackson Pollock, and a young girl cried over the now ruined 99 in her hand.
Fuck me, that's the coolest thing I've ever done. Please, someone tell me they got that on video. No! Shit.
Spattered with blood and fueled by adrenaline, I realized that quitting was not an option anymore. This wasn't a job, it was a calling. It wasn't always easy. People had been lost along the way as the horde had risen, like a dark cloud threatening to destroy all we hold dear. Above all of that, though, being a dragon slayer is really fucking cool. I took 2 cocky steps forward before I hit the deck and passed out.
You have reached the end of Side A. Please turn the cassette over to Side B.
The Dragon Slayer of Brighton is made by Folklore Productions and starred Vincent Whitaker as Vincent the Valiant, Jessica Woodfall as Pointy, James McDonnell as Dee the Silver Gasback, Jane Postlethwaite as Stay, Liam Ryan as Johnny Lightfingers, and the announcer was played by Fraser Geeson. Sound effects from freesfx.com and sonis.com, with music from Kevin MacLeod and John Dealey and the 41 Players. Theme tune created by the band 1 in 5. Links to all music used in this episode can be found on the website therebedragonshere.squarespace.com. Written, directed and produced by Vincent Whitaker. Special thanks to Into University Partnerships admissions team, Sam Wheeler, Mike Herbert Roach, Aid Foyadelli, Joe McCarthy, Lonnie Coyne and Joshua Wilde. The Dragon Slayer will return in Brighton Confidential, The Clockwork Owl, Side B. Take care out there, and remember, there be dragons here.